Well, okay, so Mariah, me and you get sent to the Tower of Babel. We're both jumping off. We're meeting at the bottom.
Okay, plan on it. I'll meet you there.
Meet you on the ground floor.
Hello and welcome to Literary Liberation Podcast. Today we will be discussing, analyzing, and reviewing A Short Stay in Hell by Steven L Peck. For more content outside of the podcast, please check out our Instagram and TikTok at Literary Liberation and Twitter at LitLibPodcast. I'm your co-host Mariah, and you can find me at Hungry Rye on all social media platforms.
And I'm your co-host Kristen. You can find me at TensTBR on all social media platforms.
Now, if this episode's a little weird, one, I'm feeling a little under the weather, and two, Kristen is experiencing that terrible snowfall that is happening in the Midwest.
In South.
In the South, yeah. Exploding trees, being snowed
We're not in the exploding tree zone.
Oh, well, I mean, you have that going for you.
Yeah. Just a lot of snow. It wasn't as bad as what they predicted, though, so at least where I am specifically. They're having us in, like, the 12-foot range. We did not, or 12 feet, 12 inches plus, and we did not get 12 inches. We probably got about 6, I'd say.
Well, that's good. At least it makes it a lot
we didn't
safer.
lose power. We usually lose power a lot for these big storms, and we didn't lose power, so that
was the other thing, is we didn't really know what was going to happen today, if we were going to be able to film, because we had this scheduled, and it was like, I don't know if you're going to have power to be able to make this happen.
Well, we got plenty of power, and it should be done snowing now, so. So we did read this over on Fable. This is our January book club read. Not a lot of reviews have come in yet. I mean, of course, whenever we record these episodes early. So, not necessarily everyone's done reading by this time. But if you don't know anything about this book, it's basically just about a Mormon guy who dies from cancer, and he ends up going to hell. And his specific hell that he is sent to is that he is in the Tower of Babel, and he is forced to find the book that completely and 100% accurately tells the story of his life. And that's the only prompt he's given.
Yes, I was very surprised this book came out March 23rd of 2012. I thought this was a lot more recent. But this, among our other choices, I didn't anticipate this one to win, but it did. And it was a very interesting book for a book club. I think this makes for a really good discussion, especially with how it's giving you like this intro to like philosophical thought in a very fun and quirky way.
Well, because I know whenever I was originally like found this, because I do think this is almost like a newish like kind of book talk book, which is so funny to describe a book that's older than TikTok itself as a book talk book. But in a sense that it is, because I do remember this was like in that list of like, if you like the show Severance, then this was recommended all over the place. Not that Mariah's seen Severance, but I do see a lot of parallels within Severance. So I think if you do like Severance, I think you would also like A Short Stay in Hell. Or there's something else I was thinking of, but now I can't think of it.
I think if you are somebody that likes the book, I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, I saw it recommended as a book similar on Goodreads when I was looking at this book, and I do think if you like that one, you'll probably be in the same ballpark where you will enjoy this.
And I like this one more than I Who Have Never Known Men. Yes. Well, because I think I like the aspects of the philosophy more in this one, where it's a lot more like you're getting more answer. Like, obviously you're left with a lot of questions throughout this book just because of the nature of the topic, you know, like it's a lot about like idealism and how you yourself individually view the world and how the people around you view the world and how that affects the choices that you make or what goes on in the world. But I think the way that it was presented, I liked it a lot more in this versus I Who Have Never Known Men, because I feel like I Who Have Never Known Men was just, it almost felt duller and then also not fleshed out, where this one I think is much more beginner friendly to philosophy, and I don't read like a lot of philosophy, you know?
Yeah, and I did. I don't know if you went through. I read the Library of Babel by Jorge Luis Borges. I think that's how you say his name, which is what inspired this book. It's a very short story. It's almost to a T exactly what this was, and I can't exactly remember when that one came out. I can look it up real quick,
Old as
but
dirt.
it's about a library where it's infinite, and there's a spiral staircase and a big old pit, and they have to there, but there's inhabitants in that one, whereas this one it takes place in hell. But in the other one, they are just like people that like live and dwell in this infinite library.
I mean, there are worse places for what hell could be, you know?
1941 is when the original one came out, which I thought, based on what this book was, I don't know if you got this, but this must have been where R. Huang got the inspiration for one of the areas in
Yes.
catabasis, because
The
it
first
is,
area, I think.
yeah.
But I think with that, there was, with, I don't recall exactly for catabasis, but I know they like had to go to like a library that was more or less infinite, and they were studying something else. Like what people had to find was different than what the goal is of this particular instance.
Yeah, and maybe when we get into the spoiler zone, we can talk more about it. Overwhelmingly, though, this has very positive reviews. It has a 4.6 star average with 63,000 ratings and 11,000 written reviews. So people love this book, which is interesting. I thought this would have been a lot lower.
Well, because I mean, I did like reading this. I do get a lot of similarities to catabasis, and not that I like hated catabasis, but it wasn't my favorite R. Kwong book. But I do. It's interesting that people enjoy this more rather than catabasis, which I wonder if it's just because this is more like a novella length too, rather than a full novel, and so you're getting a lot more like bite sized philosophy and like understanding versus like more of like a whole plot focus like epic
Quote
adventure.
unquote, like
Yeah.
romantasy, that's like retelling of Dante's Inferno. I don't know. I just thought this was a much more balanced novella, and I think it works. It works really well. I still don't really know what I'm gonna rate it, so I don't really have a star rating. It's definitely between like the 4 and 5. I don't think it's a perfect 5 star, but I enjoyed it a
I
lot, so
gave it
maybe a 4.5.
4 stars personally, which I liked it. I thought it was good. But again, like I'm just one of those people. I will never love a short story or a novella because I feel like with the way that this was structured, like a lot of stuff was like yada yada out, which like I get to an extent, but also like I'm somebody that I would love all of the minuscule details being added in and more going on. And then I think then it would be a perfect 5 star. Like I just love a juicy novel.
Yeah, I'm curious how you're going to view one of the longer books we're going to read this year is going to be East of Eden, and then also The Count of
Mm.
Monte Cristo, which are those are just the books that just keep on giving. Like there's just no end to insight
And I
because they're
think
so long and
I
thick. And I think it's going to be your
I
vibe.
think that's exactly what I'm going to want in a book. Because I mean like these are nice, but it's just like I feel like it never gets to fully explore the topics that it could by being so short. Where it
I
just
think
gives
you're
you
meant to
like,
like do it on your own.
yeah, but
That's
I
like the
don't
whole
want to
thing.
do that.
Well,
I
I
like
guess
seeing
that's
other
where we're
people's
different.
perspectives and using that to learn and look around, at the world.
I suppose. I don't know if you looked into the author.
No,
I was
I
very
just looked away.
surprised about him that he is, I don't remember what he teaches, but he's a Mormon man, right? And he like lived or lives in Utah. Um and he teaches that evolution isn't at odds with religion, which I find it so interesting. He got really into, I think, his bioethics, or
Hmm.
I don't know. I was very surprised by that. And then also given what happens in this book, which I don't know when you want to embark on our spoiler endeavors, but I found it fascinating.
Well, I mean, we could probably talk about Mormonism a little bit before we get specifically into the spoiler zone, which, again, personally, the most. I would never say I'm super well versed in like Mormon theology in any way, shape, or form. Like my probably like the most knowledge I have about like Mormon theology is the Book of Mormon musical by the writers of South Park. I know you've never seen that musical, but it's a very good one and very funny. And it like
I do know of it, but is there not a lot of Mormons on that side of the country?
no, I think the whole thing is that they moved west.
Yeah, they all live in Utah, and I live in Oregon, so there's a lot of people that live here. There's so many different like LDS churches,
I
missionaries. I courted a Mormon. My brother dated a Mormon as well. We had like Mormon friends growing up, so we were
I
pretty
mean I
immersed in Mormonism, just like
think
at least understanding their stuff because we both kind of just kept asking questions because we grew up very like evangelical. I was very confused. I was like, "What is Mormonism?" And
well
it is a very confusing religion.
because I'm pretty sure we do have like a Church of Latter-day Saints, but it's not like I personally know any Mormons, but I also don't really know that many people that are very religious anyways, just cuz like I feel like you're kind of around the people. And whenever you go to public school, there's like everyone there and nobody ever talks about religion really. I would say.
Really?
Not really, no. I wouldn't say like religion's a big topic.
It was over
Like
here. Going to
like
church camp, going and doing like young life was a really big thing amongst like the tweens and teens, which was like a
that's probably cuz you
after
guys had
church
nothing to
program.
do.
That's what happens when you live in more rural areas. I do think church is a lot more prevalent. And the thing with the Mormon church is that they do take care of their own, but you also have
Mhm.
to pay a lot in. That being said, the whole beliefs, listen, if you're Mormon and you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But the whole thing is like predicated on like it started with like a settler colonial like idea with Joseph Smith, right?
Yes, because they
Expanding
got
out
kicked out
west.
of the eastern side of the country. I think it was New York, wasn't it? Somewhere like that.
I yeah, he I don't know. He
Somewhere
has
on the
some
East
really
Coast.
weird ideas. But then there's
He
also like
found the
racism.
golden plates in the backyard. That's what I know.
Yeah.
He
He
found
found
some, but
Zion.
nobody's seen him. Nobody's ever seen them. First off, which that would piss me off so bad. There's like it's literally just like a just trust me, bro religion.
No,
You know,
literally. And
like
like they're like the garments and everything they wear. It's so interesting. And I still find it fascinating, like when people are still actively practicing Mormonism, just like how they conduct themselves, how they dress, kind of like they all very much act very similarly. It's very like a homogenous group of people. And it kind of makes sense because, one, Utah is very white. I did
yes,
look up the race demographic, 89% white. And also, they didn't let black
black
people
people,
become in leadership positions until like like late
the
1970s.
'90s,
And then
the
they
stuff
like
they didn't even
disavowed.
allow. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
And
didn't
then they
allow
didn't
black people into their church forever.
Well, because there is like a lot of stuff about the Lamanites because they were quote unquote, and the skins of the Lamanites were dark according to the mark which was set upon their fathers, which was a curse upon them because of their transgression and their rebellion against their brethren, who consisted of Nephi, Jacob, and Joseph and Sam, who were just and holy men. So they were, yeah, make of that as you would like. Um,
We're not Mormon, obviously.
I'm not Mormon, but I do remember like learning about all of this stuff because I was like, what the fuck? It's very strange. It's very weird. I'm not gonna lie. It's like a misogynistic belief
Yeah,
system. I don't think that's far fetched to suggest.
I mean, like, and the thing is too, like, one of the big like, I would say like memes, but obviously like there's some truth to it too about like the whole like polygamy thing within Mormonism or like the multiple wives. Like there's that whole show like The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which is all about like a bunch of sister wives and stuff like that. And it's like to an extent, like obviously not all Mormons are like that. And I'm sure there are some great Mormons. Brandon Sanderson seems like a fine enough Mormon from my understanding, but also like what I think a lot of the critiques as well, like within Mormonism, probably do also fall to like evangelical Christianity as well, because they are
Yeah,
from the same tree, like the same branch. The apple doesn't fall far from the
yeah.
tree.
Except in Christianity, you don't keep your wife for eternity. You don't get sealed in the church, and then you don't get a
No,
planet. So
yeah.
you don't have that going for you. Which I always thought the
Well,
getting your own planet thing was kind of crazy.
the women don't get a planet. You only get a planet if your husband gets a planet, and then you can live on the planet with him,
It's
which
very
is
strange.
crazy. Which the planet thing has always confused me because, like, space, like, what do they talk about that? You know, like,
It's Mormonism, man. It's weird. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get soaking. I don't. I don't get a lot of the stuff
yeah,
I
like,
see
really, like,
about it. But I do think this is relevant, right? So it's like, okay,
yes,
we're in here. What is this? It is relevant to the plot because as we are in the spoilers now, we have to be.
the main
When
character.
our main character gets into hell, he notices very quickly that it is white American people that are in this hell. There's no
Mm-hmm.
diversity.
This specific hell, because obviously what we are shown with the beginning scene is that there are, I think it's technically the prologue, that there are different hells that are kind of not necessarily built for each individual person, but there are like different areas that, like, somebody who they said that this guy enjoys reading, so that's kind of why they sent him to this specific hell, versus somebody else like his wife or somebody else could be to a different part of hell. And the main thing about the hell too within this religion, because the religion that they say is the one true religion, is Zoroastrianism. And I want you all to know, anybody listening to this, Mariah and I did not do a whole lot of research on that religion for this book. Obviously, we didn't even do a whole lot of research on Mormonism. We just know like the basics of it. Um, but I think it's interesting that whenever like they're introduced to hell, there's it kind of does like talk about how, like, with the way Mormonism is, right? There's like the missions, right? So everybody is sent all around the world to different countries, different states to spread Mormonism, to convert people to the Mormon church. And if you didn't convert someone to Mormonism, then basically like their goal is to try to save you, right? So that you're not going to be damned in all of hell for eternity. And the demon that is like, I will call it like sentencing our main character, our unnamed main character. It's interesting how he has a critique of Mormonism too, where it's just like, you were damning these people to hell for eternity, like forever and ever and ever, versus their hell is supposed to be more moral, more just, because there is a way to get out of it.
Yeah. And that's kind of like if you aren't familiar with different belief systems, but like generally like Christianity and like hell boils down to like three main concepts. And there's like universalism, which is like everyone gets saved. Annihilation is like punishment, and then destruction. And then there's also eternal conscious torment, which is like what traditionally I think Christians like you essentially like God would create like this body that would be inhabited that lasts withstands torture, doesn't ever die. It's a very odd thing. So he's very surprised because he was expecting to be met with that kind of a place,
Well,
but this is more like purgatory esque because there is
yeah.
purgatory, which is like more Catholicism, where you have like this range of hell where you can kind of like learn from your mistakes until you can like ascend. To my knowledge, I'm not Catholic, but that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, which is, I mean, we do see at the beginning too, because there's like the like 6 or 10 commandments that they kind of have at the front of the library whenever they walk in, and one of them is like, you are here to learn something, but don't try to figure out what you're learning, because then that won't help you. Which is an interesting like thought process, or like, you know.
Yeah, and I think very early on, everyone seems to be kind of like plopped in here,
Mm-hmm.
and they're determined to like go through all of these books. However, they realize very quickly that these books are gibberish. Most of them are gibberish because with every story ever being told, it includes different stories that are just
It's like,
constructed of different characters of the English language specifically. This one is all centered around like the English language.
mm-hmm. It reminds me of like that. What's that theory about like the monkeys with the typewriters, where like if they bang on random keys, eventually they'll type out the full works of Shakespeare or something. It's like that vibe. You never heard of that theory?
No, but it makes sense.
That's like, I don't know, it's like a thing.
It's like a statistically like you're bound to found it, but in here these people are told that they have to find like their story. They don't know what perspective it needs to be submitted from, or exact like it's confusing. They're like, how long is it going to be? But each book in this is only around like what, 410
400
pages.
pages. Yeah, it's like 400 something pages exactly, exactly the same number of words. And then also, not even just to mention about the specific books, it's about finding your specific book about your specific life. But like the perspective of my life is going to be completely different from my perspective versus a loved one that witnessed my life versus Mariah that's witnessed my life. And so they also don't know which specific version they're trying to find. Are they trying to find like their autobiography or somebody that's like an omniscient third person that's viewed it? Because the way that I view something is going to be completely different how a loved one of mine viewed something that happened to me. And so it's a very big like moral like philosophy, like it is a very like you are thinking a lot
Yeah, and
with this
I
book.
at first initially when I was reading this, I kind of,
Mariah was a
I don't know,
hater.
I like the first 30 or 40% was like, okay, like this is fine, but then it very quickly takes you down a route that I didn't anticipate coming, because of like, I don't know, like the way they're just like, okay, moseying around checking out books. It's like, okay,
They're
I get
kind
it,
of
like
living
you're
their
gonna be in
best
here for
life.
eternity, living their
Yeah,
best life. And then
drinking,
yeah,
trying to
they
smoke but
have
you can't
access
smoke.
to
Yeah.
food, which is strange. But you can do pretty much whatever you want. But you can't die. Nobody can die in this
Well, you
place.
die, but you'll just get resurrected the next day.
Yeah. So it's not ever like proper
No
complete
eternal
death.
death.
But he ends up meeting somebody and falling in love for 100 years. And then that doesn't end up working out. And then he ends up falling in love with another woman for 1,000 years. And throughout this time, we're having this cult that comes into being that is a very strange cult where they're like, the only thing we can do according to this god that appeared before us is cause harm and torture and like kill people so that we can like ascend to the stars or some. It's a very
Hmm.
odd cult that develops, which I didn't see coming at all. I thought it was a really interesting little thing to throw in there because it would happen. Like these people are in hell, like they're not perfect beings, they're not in heaven,
And this
so they
is why
have
you need
those
a
flaws.
vanguard party to
A vanguard party in
party
hell.
to control the dissenter. Well, because I mean that's what happens. This inherently like fascist group because there's no rule or laws. These people just decide that they're the ones that can do whatever they want to whoever they want for virtually no reason. I mean, there's no direction. The directions are all plastered on the signs, and there's no signs about this, you know? And I think it's very interesting to me the way that it gave me like a very like Lord of the Flies esque like philosophy dilemma there within that because you have this group like setting up. And I think it could have been more interesting as well to have that more fleshed out and then also see like the way that people are just like sitting there dealing with it on these floors because like since it's not an infinite number of floors but it basically is an infinite number of floors where you have these floors like hundreds of floors that are affected by this cult but then it's also not spread to like the higher up floors or the lower down floors like at all because he
Yeah,
meets a
it's like
man
this
further down.
number of floors that is so incredibly unfathomable that it is damn near infinite, which I think that
Yeah.
is such an interesting idea, is just to have something so huge. It does have a limit, but the limit is the way that you'd have to go through every single book and all of these floors and try to find your story and submit the right one. It'd take eons.
Yeah, there was like a quote or whatever too, like how it's like even if it is like even though it's not infinite, it doesn't matter because of how large it is. It's that it feels infinite anyways. Which I think that's just such an interesting idea because it's not like that's not something you ever really come across like in your day to day life. We're not really dealing with huge sums or like infinity number of things ever. You
No, this
know?
book really reminded me of as a kid. I used to be really afraid of going to heaven because they made it seem all nice and good. Because they're like, oh, like the streets are paved in gold and everyone gets their own house, which is not true. Um,
Yeah,
but
there's no
you
heaven,
just live
guys.
in happiness forever. But I was like,
Forever.
but like forever. What do you
The
mean forever? Because that's such a long time. I was like, you can't be happy forever. And as a kid, no, my parents would be like, no, it's fine. I
yes.
was like, no, but it's like it's not like because you can't know happiness without also knowing like heartbreak. Like as poetic and waxing as that sounds, like it's true. There's only so much you can do
See,
for an eternity, and it seems terrible. Which in this library, which you can't even fucking read all the books. Like, can you imagine being a reader in a library full of books that you can't fucking
it's
read?
all
It's like that
gibberish.
Twilight Zone episode where have you
Never
ever
seen
seen
it.
that?
Not
Oh
that
my gosh,
specific episode.
there's this I cannot remember what it's called. It's this Twilight episode from like the 1960s where there's this man and the whole world is over. So he's just by himself. He's like the last man on earth. And he like gets into like this big library or whatever and his glasses break. And they're
That's
beyond
awful.
repairs and he has such a bad prescription that he can't see.
That sucks. That's
So
ill.
that's what it kind of reminded me of. You would love Twilight
I mean,
Zone.
I've seen a couple episodes of the Twilight Zone, and they are fun. Yes, I do agree. I think that's something everybody has seen pretty much. At least every American. Like, I feel like you're not an American unless you watch the Twilight Zone. Those are all like pseudo philosoph what's the word I'm looking for? Philosophical like episodes and stuff too. And I think that's what's so fun. Like this does remind me of like a Twilight Zone episode in a way. Like you could see it easily adapted for TV. What I did like about this book too is there was just like a random like Marxist economist mentioned,
Yeah, dude, what the fuck was up with that? It
which
was like a
is
throwaway,
like
and I was like, hello?
oh,
Wow.
another Mormon I like, Ken Jennings, and he's a comrade, and we know it. Okay, guys, just look up some quotes if you're a fan of Jeopardy. Ken Jennings, he's on our side. I'm telling you. But I think it's really interesting to me because I feel like in other religious aspects, like it's so interesting to me. I feel like so many Mormons bring up Marxism more than other religions. Have you noticed that or like been like more like aware of it? Maybe not necessarily like a Marxist, but I feel like they're more aware of it. What are they teaching now at Brigham Young University, y'all? Let me know.
Honestly, I have no idea. I haven't heard it on my end, but I mean, they are very community focused. Despite
Yeah.
all of like their ills, they're incredibly community focused. If you have like a Mormon missionary like come up to your door and they're like, "Oh, is there anything we can do for you today?" They will do. If you're like, "Hey, I need really like a lot of help like cleaning the living room," they will. That's what they're meant to do on their mission. Is like they will go around and help you. Like they do a lot of community
Yeah, because
service
they're
stuff.
trying to convert you to Mormonism. And they think if they
You
clean
know,
your
but like
living room, you'll convert.
you know what? What are you gonna do? I
Just
mean,
start
they'll do it.
using
It's
them.
not like
Exploit them.
radicalize them.
um,
It's like an Uno reverse. Oh my
I don't
god.
know. I just thought it was interesting because I feel like this isn't the first time that like a Mormon in like popular culture has brought up Marxism, which I feel like in other popular culture, very rarely do you see Marxism mentioned. You
No,
know?
I know. And then them just bringing up like, oh, like the anthropologist, right? No, she's the Marxist economist.
And they're like, right, go on. Like, okay. Like it's just completely chill.
Let's follow Cassandra. I want to know more about her. Give me a
Yeah.
spinoff.
Steven, I know you ain't doing nothing. What other books has he been released since this?
This is like the biggest one. He has some other books, but I mean, I think he's just like a professor. I think he just teaches.
Quit your J job. Start writing about Cassandra. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, I do think that what it has a really interesting, like so much of philosophy to me, I feel like is a lot to do with your relationship with other people. Obviously, like how you view like other people and stuff. And within that, you end up discussing like love and relationships, like personal relationships within like whether it's like a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever have you in that way. And I think it's really interesting that our main character finds it so hard to stay with someone for such a long time just because that's not something that I can fathom either. Like I have people that I love in my life that I feel like I'd want to be with them forever.
Yeah, I remember thinking about stuff like that because with Mormons, you're stuck with your partner for eternity. Like you're sealed together.
Yeah, so you
And
better make
the
sure it's
idea
a
of
good one.
being with somebody that you're stuck together, and a lot of Mormons do get married at a very young age.
Hmm.
I think it's interesting. He's like questioning his own like morals. Like the moral philosophy is relevant in this too, of like what is good and bad. And even with like this cult that comes into fruition, like is it inherently a morally bad thing when nobody's dying? You're not like, they are being hurt, but they're not like you're in hell. It brings up a whole different level of like moral ethics
Hmm.
and
But
ethics that
because,
I
like,
think you can discuss. And I'm also, that's not me apologia. I'm just positing a point of them being in fucking hell, and like if you kill
well,
someone or toss someone over the edge, like
nothing
they're not
really
gonna die.
happens. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is because they come back. So then it's like, how do you view versus, like, we know, like, death within on this mortal and human realm, like death is very final, right? Versus in this world, death is not final in a lot of ways. So it's really interesting. Which, not that I think personally you should be beating someone to death every day, unless
No.
it's like an objectively evil person, you know? But even
It
then, the problem is that also, like, me and Mariah do believe in, like, rehabilitation as well. And
Yes, and this also feels very initially it sounds like transformative in a sense, but we realize very quickly that is it truly transformative if it's occupying X amount of time, but if you only have time on your hands, is
yeah,
it rehabilitative? Like what does it take for somebody to ascend if they have to spend light years?
but also, I mean, you have eternity as well. And it's also like, what we don't even end up learning what the final goal is. Like, I think the goal is end up being deposited onto yourself and what you view like you should learn from trying to find this book, you know? Like, there's no, like, because I mean, whenever the book ends, our main character, he has not found his book, you know? But he's traveled hundreds of thousands of miles from ceiling to the floor, you know? I think those people that are going to the bottom, I think they got the right idea.
I was thinking about that too. What would we do in this situation? I was like, yep, hop over the ledge,
I'd
go
hop over the
straight to the
ledge and wait to
bottom.
the bottom. I mean, it sucks that you have a book, but if you take a friend, I'm sure you could be talking for a while. I could talk all day. You know? I think the problem with it, I think, is that a lot of this story ends up being very isolating too. Like, we have our main character, he's by himself. Like, obviously he has Rachel, I think her name is, for a long time. But I mean, 1,000 years is nothing compared to how long he has been there by the time the story ends, too.
I think that's why when he is falling and he ends up meeting Wanda, I believe that's what her name was,
Wand. I think it was
just
just
Wand.
Wand.
Um, and she's just falling,
Yeah.
and then they kind of like form a relationship. You're like, oh, I'll find you, and to never find that person again. So like you can never have any sort of connection
You
on
go
like
r
a
slash
deeper.
misconnection. Hell.
It's
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is that you can have that connection, but we also don't know the situation that she ended up being in, because, like, maybe the floor that she landed on could have been another floor where that cult had taken over again. And then, because there's infinite possibilities of what's going on in each of these floors as well. And what do you think is the significance of that there being no, like, racial minorities? Do you think it's just, like, representing Utah in that way, or, like, Mormonism being,
well, I
like, a
think like
mostly right
initially,
relation?
right? But it should be educating like the people around them, like how maybe in their lives the reason that like landed them there. Obviously, like they don't want to hear to all of the principles of Zoroastrianism, but they also, if they're all very similar, perhaps they were like racist or held like bigoted beliefs, and they all got put into like this perfect white ethno state, um, and
I
they
don't
got to live
know.
that out because there's no like clear cut answer, because it's just like people wondering why, oh, like there's only white people here. So that's in my theory, is them
I don't know
having to
because
experience this world of a lack of diversity, which I think it would have worked out a little bit better if it was just like I who have never known men, where it was just like one flat,
like all one gender or
like
all
all
one
white men, all
like
white
one
conservative men.
unisex, one uniform group. I don't know. I don't to me the main character didn't really read as racist to me though because he was talking about that like this is hell because it's not diverse and then he was saying that like heaven is different than hell and that means that it would be diverse. And viewing heaven as being diverse I think is a like that makes the most sense to me, you know? So that's
I
to
feel
me
like that's
why
like who this is supposed to be speaking to. Like who is this book aimed at? And given like his background and
white
like his
Mormons.
religious belief and how he's pushing back against the idea of like okay no evolution can be compatible with religion, then he's kind of like poking
It's just
holes into their ideas. So that's the only thing I can think like as a utility this book could function as.
I could see
When
that,
it comes
yeah.
to actual plot and theme of this book, I think it's more so like this is a very specific hell because somebody that doesn't appreciate like written languages, like I can't imagine what this hell would look like for somebody that lives in like I don't know, like Ukraine or like the Democratic Republic of the Congo or like like just some other like Uzbekistan, some other country, different culture, different beliefs, like what they prioritize, what it would look like. Because this is
Mhm.
very much like reading and liking books and written language is a very like European settler thing, right? This is why we have so much pushback from people when they're like, no, like audiobooks, it's like it's not reading, you're not doing anything with it, you're just listening. And it kind of like completely does away with like the hundreds of thousands of years of like people
Oral
giving like
language,
oral
oral.
histories, oral
Mhm.
stories, like all of that. And I do think it's relevant in that way because it's just like a very specific type of hell. And I do think because obviously people who are going to read this are readers. So it's
Yes.
like, okay, we're going to meet you where you're at. I don't know.
So
That's
you
kind of where
think
my head was at.
do you think this is the hell that you would get sentenced to?
Probably with my fucking luck.
If we end up on the same floor though, I don't think it would be so bad. You know?
I know. I mean, I don't know. We would radicalize everyone.
Yeah. Which I mean, not in the way that that cult radicalized their people either.
We would just wait at the bottom in one very specific spot and be like, okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to wait.
Yeah, I mean
Because
like
what else you got to do?
I think I'd just jump off first day. Just might as well get to the bottom. You know, work you got to work your way up, I
I don't
think.
think they really know like what exactly like they do kind of learn that what happens when somebody dies really quick.
Yeah, they
Like
know that
something
they
happens.
yeah, the one guy like gets alcohol poisoning and dies pretty early on. And it says in the rules too that you can't die.
Yeah, so that's
So,
why he like runs. He's like, okay, I'm gonna run to the very end of this floor.
yeah, and they did send like a couple of different exhibitions of people going to different places and stuff. I thought the scene where they were like celebrating like the work of the year or whatever, I thought that was a pretty funny scene too. They have like a whole like I guess however many floors they decide are like within their own group and then they decide that like this is the most important text of the year because it has like two readable sentences. Which it's interesting to me because it seems like to me a lot of these people end up working together as well in this
Yeah,
specific hell. Where they're
people
like,
yearn for community.
hey, I found blah blah blah's name in this book, you know? And I feel like to me, there wasn't a whole lot of reading books in that. Like I don't feel like they were going through the books very much.
No, it like it alludes to it, but I thought they would be reading a lot more
No, because it's just like it seemed like a
on
lot of
page.
people. Yeah, well, because like I know the one guy who's like I could only like skim for an hour, and it's like to me, you open up the first page. If it's gibberish, it's obviously not going to be what you're looking for. Like I feel like you could get through some stuff pretty quick. Like you should be getting through at least like a couple hundred books a day, right?
Maybe even more.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just not determined like we are. I think.
No, we're just locked in. We'd figure it
Yeah.
out and be like, okay, bet.
No,
And then we'd
literally.
probably
I just
find
get
it and just like,
you.
it
You
doesn't
just
say you
get.
can't submit more than one book. I don't think. I
Yeah.
think you just keep
No, it
submitting
literally
until you
is.
get it right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just start throwing them in. This one's got my name in it. All right, here you go. Try this one. You even got to read the whole thing. You can skim it.
I think the question is, if you found your book and you were with somebody, would you wait until they found their book?
I think it depends on who it is. You know, like if it was you, sure, I wait for you. If it was Tyler, sure, I wait for him. But
Oh.
like if it was like my mom, I'd be like, gotta go, bye. You know, I'd be like, see you up there. You know, it depends on. I think it all. Do you not think it depends on who it is, or does it matter who you'd stay
Yeah.
with them?
I don't know. I think at this point, like, you spend 1,000 years with a stranger, they're no longer going to be a
Yeah,
stranger.
they'd
You're
be
going to
your
learn everything
friend.
about them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Eventually, if I spend 1,000 years with someone there, they'd be my friend. I'd wait with my friend, but I wouldn't wait with someone who I didn't get along with very well.
What'd you think of the people that were just throwing books off the edge, though, without reading them? That kind of was like,
That was crazy
you
to me
don't
because then
know.
they did probably just throw off the book, but it'll get reset tomorrow. So like the next day, not tomorrow, but like whatever the next day is, the books will end up back in the right place in the shelf. So you could always just check it then. But I mean, I feel like you could read it and then throw it off the cliff. Who cares? You know,
That's what I'd be doing.
if it's got, you see an exclamation point in a random spot, bye. Like, I don't
I
know
think I would
why.
like plan. I would go through, I'd see like in the first, obviously the first little bit's going to be a shock, but once you get to the bottom, you'd see like how long you can go through X amount of shelves for X
Yeah.
amount of time before you have to go to bed. So then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this all the way through this
Yeah,
floor.
you do this whole shelf today, and then, like, you finish that floor, and then you move up the next day or whatever.
I almost feel like this story was meant to show how big community should have been, because the people who were working together to read the books were able to find texts that actually had written
Meaning,
phrases
yeah.
in them. Whereas if you're just going off on your own, like, you just need everybody. You collect everyone
Yeah.
up in a chain. We're like, okay, we're all going to fall to the bottom and work together on our way up so we can get through
Yeah.
it faster.
Well, okay, so Mariah, me and you get sent to the Tower of Babel. We're both jumping off. We're meeting at the bottom.
Okay, plan on it. I'll meet you there.
Meet you on the ground floor. I mean, or we could start from the top, but I just don't think there's an accessible way to get up to the top. I feel like falling would be much easier because they still get tired and stuff, like from climbing the stairs.
Yeah, I don't want to
And
climb a bunch of stairs. I'd
no,
rather
I
just
don't
start at the
either.
bottom.
Yeah, because then you only have to climb a stair. What? I mean, because we don't really know how many shelves are in each room either, like each floor. Yeah. But overall, we like this book. Obviously, we had a big discussion about this. That's one thing, too. I think that's what shows how effective this book can be because of it being less than 150 pages, but also being able to have such a robust discussion around it.
I think it was a really good book club read. I think this is nice if you're like getting into reading books with your book club. I like short stories, but they're very hard to do effectively. And I do think this was done really well and it was very engaging. I felt very connected to the character and I thought it was quite thought provoking. It's also written in a very easy way.
Yeah,
This,
I
all
do
in all,
think.
it's just an accessible book that I think is just lovely. It's going in like my special little like books that I'm going to hold close to my heart. It does, like, I did see somebody in a different review on like their own blog where they were talking about like this is very similar in some ways to like House of Leaves, and I do kind of get the
I haven't
same
read it,
sort of
so.
vibe. I don't know how you're going to like it. I don't think you're going to like it.
I see it at the bookstore all the time, and I'm like, wow, this book is fucking $50 for a paperback.
That's very expensive. It's because it's full color.
I don't care. It shouldn't be $50. I'm sorry.
It's a piece of art. That's what it is. Piece of art.
Maybe if I find it at the used bookstore. I don't think that'll ever happen, though.
You never know.
Yeah, I want to be like Mariah and have stress-induced nightmares from a book.
I know. I haven't had any nightmares about this
Which,
though. So
which is crazy about this book. I fell asleep like right after I finished it, and I don't know if that's because of the book, but I felt like I was having very vivid dreams. Like they felt
you should
real.
read more philosophy.
Maybe. I
I
just
think
feel
we
like
should read
most of the time they're
Camus.
really boring.
You can read like the Myth of Sisyphus and
The Myth of
stuff like that.
Sisyphus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like The Pit. That's what they talk about in The Pit. Not that you watch The Pit.
No.
That's Tyler's new favorite show. We just finished season
Is
1
it gonna make
today.
him want to work in healthcare?
Hell no. This is gonna make anybody that like this is shows you how much healthcare sucks.
Healthcare does. We have really shitty ratios. I know this is kind of like off base, but like
Well, I think The Pit, not to talk about The Pit too much, but I do think it does a really good job at like exploring a lot of those themes and stuff, and it does do a lot of critique of how like healthcare workers are treated and um like how like hospitals and stuff are ran by like corporations and for money and profit rather than for the actual care of patients. It does a really good job at doing that. And it even talked about in I don't know where it was, but like the freedom wagon people, like the black Americans that got trained and they were basically like the first EMS systems.
mm-hmm.
It talks about that in the show. It's a really good show. I recommend it to anybody.
I'll probably watch it at some point.
It's really good. I didn't expect it to be so bingeable. It was not what I expected at all. I was going into it thinking it was just going to be like that 911 show, which I haven't watched that, but they be doing stupid stuff on there.
It's not like Grey's.
I haven't watched it, but Grey's also feels stupid to me. Or like The Good Doctor, like that's stupid. This is
House. I watched so many like healthcare shows. That's why I haven't picked it up because it's like I used to watch a ton of healthcare shows.
to me this feels like it's completely different from any regular like medical drama. It's really interesting.
You're following nurses.
Well, nurses and doctors. It's the ER. And it's interesting because so the season is 15 episodes, but each episode is 1 hour of this specific day at the hospital.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it really puts you in, and each episode's like an hour long. So like the first hour is like the first hour of this doctor shift. It's pretty good. But I guess other than that, what we have next up on the podcast, next episode will be our January reading wrap up.
Holy moly, it's already coming up. Huh,
Yep.
It is the 25th. I've been in a daze the last like week.
So January is basically over, especially by the time this is up. So that'll be up. And then also we will be reviewing Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy the week after that. And if you would like to join our book club over on Fable for February, we did a poll and Kindred by Octavia E. Butler won. So we'll be reading that this next month with our lovely friends over on Fable.
We got some good stuff coming up. Operation Bounce House is coming up.
That releases
next
soon.
month. So we're going to have a pretty packed February. I think this, because it's going to be so busy, we'll probably post a little calendar of what we're doing. I think that'll probably be the easiest moving forward, just to give you an idea in case people don't actually make it till the end of these fucking episodes. If you did make it to the end, comment a what emoji?
A fire emoji for hell.
Yeah, fire emoji for hell. Oh, you made it to the very end.
But I guess other than that, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're over on YouTube. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can follow us. On YouTube, you can hit that bell and get notified every time we post too, in case you missed it. But we do post every Thursday for now. Thank you and good night.